Oh, hi guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Nice to meet you. I'm Taylor. Hey.
Hi.
And there we have two different schools Skyping in, so everybody say hi to everybody. Hi guys, I'm Taylor. Hello. I would love it if you guys would introduce yourselves. What's your name?
I'm Marvin. I'm
You're 18.
I'm 11 years old.
I knew it. You're 11?
Yes.
All right, how old are you?
I'm 15, and my name's
awesome.
Hayden.
Hayden, I love that name.
Thank you.
What's your name?
I'm Ben. I'm 11.
Cool, Ben. I'm Ben. I love it. What's your name?
I'm Sophie. I'm 14.
Awesome. What's your name?
Sean, I'm 12.
Sean is 12. Awesome.
I'm Mariah. I'm 14.
Amazing. So we have kind of all age groups going on, which is amazing. And roughly how old are you guys? Roughly 10. 10, 11, 13. Some are 11. One's 12. All right, that's good. So definitely all ages. I'm so excited that you guys are here and that I'm here to talk to you guys about reading and writing. You're like, wow, I thought I wasn't in school. But I'm really excited to talk to you about reading and writing because I wouldn't be a songwriter if it wasn't for books that I loved as a kid. And I think that, when you can escape into a book, it trains your imagination to think big and to think that more can exist than what you see. And I think that's been the basis of why I've wanted to write songs and why writing became my career. So I'm happy we're going to talk about it. So let's talk about it.
So I saw that you liked the Emma Watson video about feminism, and I wanted to know what female characters influenced you in literature.
I really do love what she said about feminism, and I love it when women and girls can identify with feminism and that discussion becomes more popular, because when I was growing up, I feel like it wasn't something that we really talked about. We didn't really understand what feminism was. Or if we did, we thought it was like some angry, like kind of aggressive thing, and it's not. It's just that you believe that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. And I think it's something that's great that she talked about that. Because her character that she plays in the movies, Hermione, is an amazing character in literature.
Yeah.
I had a lot of female characters that I was inspired by growing up. I read this book called Stargirl that is about this girl who's very different than everybody else in her school, and some people call her weird, but no matter how much they make fun of her, she just continues to be herself, and pretty soon that individuality rubs off on everyone else and they all want to be like her. So Stargirl was an amazing book that I read. And recently, like the summer before this one, I read The Fault in Our Stars. And I loved Hazel Grace because I think she's so smart and sarcastic and self-aware. And I think that just from the book, being written from her perspective and it's told so beautifully, I think that John Green did a really great job of painting a really, really intricate, beautiful, complicated female character. Well, I was wondering, do you guys have any favorite books or characters that really inspire you, who you identify with? Ladies first.
My favorite book is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls, because it showed me that there's so many different ways of living your life and there's so many different lifestyles. I never really thought of moving around, and because I'd never had that experience, and then that book just showed me an entire different perspective on how life was, and it was just so cool to read that.
Wow, I want to read that now.
It's really good.
I should read it, definitely?
Yes.
Cool. Oh, I'm going to get so many good ideas from this, because I never know which book to start, and I really need to be reading more on the road because I miss it, and when I have a lot of long plane rides coming up. What are some of your favorite books?
Well, I really like the Percy Jackson series and just in general all the books, because I think a lot of kids who read it, especially me, can also identify with a lot of the characters in the book, which I think is awesome. So it's not just this book about a kid who has to go through a lot of tough things and kind of learns a lot of morals, but there's also another aspect to it that's just appealing to a lot of young readers, which is like just like about myths and just awesome creatures and monsters, which I just think is really cool.
That's amazing. Wow, you have an amazing vocabulary. You're really intelligent. You guys are all really intelligent. I'm really excited. What's your favorite book?
Some of my favorite books are like the Harry Potter series.
Yes, it's like so good, right?
Yeah.
And everybody loves it, so it does. You don't say it as much, but it's like
Yeah.
What do you like about it the most?
I started reading it when I was like really young, and it was sort of like I grew up reading it, and so I like grew up with the characters almost, and I got to like see how they matured as I like grew up too. And that like has been like a really big part of my childhood just because it was like there for a lot of it, and it's like really affected me, I think, in like the way that I grew up and like how my mind works now.
Yeah, and it kind of probably provides a source of comfort.
Yeah.
Like nostalgia. That's a really interesting angle on it. You don't think about how many kids have legitimately grown up with the Harry Potter series. That's amazing. What is your favorite book?
Well, my favorite book is Out of My Mind. I think that it really shows how someone can be so different on the outside while being so smart and intelligent on the inside without not knowing anything about them, really.
Wow. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fiction or nonfiction?
It's fiction.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Should I read it?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have
That's
any
great.
book recommendations for me?
Yeah, actually, I read this book called The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut.
Wow, okay.
And it takes place in a dystopian society, but I thought it was interesting because not only was it told from the point of view of an adult rather than someone my age, its focus wasn't completely rebelling against the source of authority, but rather understanding, existing and like self-awareness. And I thought it was so interesting to get the point of view of a father rather than, the misunderstood teen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I feel like comes up in a lot of young adult novels.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a
I
really
also
great
am
book.
really intrigued by the fact that you identify more with a character that isn't in your age group, and that you wanted to step into somebody else's perspective. It's really interesting. Cool. What's your favorite book?
I don't really have a favorite book since I've read so many books, but
That's
one of the
fair.
books that I guess I learned a lot from was the Ranger's Apprentice series. And the main character, he's an orphan. He has nothing. He has actually a pretty good life. He lives in a castle, but he's an orphanage. He has no parents. He has no money of his own. He has nothing. And he gets chosen to work for these mysterious rangers. And he doesn't know anything about them. And he becomes the apprentice to one of the best rangers in the whole country. And at the end of the series, he's started from nothing, and he worked very hard, and now he's one of the most famous rangers. And so it kind of taught me it doesn't really matter where you come from or where you start off as long as you work hard towards your goals, you can get there.
That's really beautiful. I could cry right now. Isn't that amazing how he delivered that too? Like it was so eloquent, so well said.
Thank you.
Man, I'm lucky to be hanging out with you guys.
Did you keep a writing journal when you were in school? And if you did, was it something that you would recommend?
I would definitely recommend journaling because I've been journaling since I was 13. I have all the journals of when I was in school, and I would be sad that I wasn't invited to some party that everybody was invited to, or, upset that some boy that I had a crush on didn't notice me. And I would just journal the way that I felt, and somehow it kind of simplified it. Because sometimes, nothing can really make you feel better about what you're going through, but a lot of the time it's easier to understand how you're feeling if you write it down, because it kind of simplifies it for you. A lot of the time we get so overwhelmed by our emotions because there are so many of them, but a lot of the time if you put pen to paper, how you're actually feeling will be what comes out on the page. Journaling was what made me discover that I loved poetry. And poetry is so close to songwriting in concept, because if you're dealing with rhyming poetry, you're trying to find perfect, concise way to say something, and kind of it has a cadence and a rhythm to it. It has the right rhymes at the end of the right phrases. So if you just start to write in your free time and you make writing something that you look forward to, who knows where it'll take you? Who knows if you'll start to think about storylines and you'll decide that you want to write a book someday, or you'll decide that maybe you like journalism, or you'll sketch something and realize that you want to be an artist. There's so many different things that you can discover about yourself if you write.
Do you draw upon real life experiences to write? And can you share one story that happened to you that ended up becoming one of your songs?
Definitely. My real life experiences are pretty much all I draw from when I write songs. So it ends up being kind of interesting because when you put out an album, I just put out an album called 1989 this week. And so when you put out an album of all these new songs, it's like people are opening up your diary and reading it and going, oh, I guess that's what she went through, and I guess she went through that too. But one of the situations where I wrote a song about something that was hard for me was I had, okay, so like when I was in school, we talked about how I felt left out a lot of the time and kids would pick on me and stuff. And I thought when I was younger that ends. I thought that when you grow up and you graduate high school or something, that people don't bully each other anymore, and that you don't have to deal with people picking on you all the time, or saying things that aren't true about you, or saying that you don't deserve what you want. And then, I went on tour and I started making music and putting out albums, and man, about two albums in, there was this critic, right, like a journalist, just was saying all these things about me that were so mean-spirited. Like, the job of a critic is to, say their opinion about music, but it was clear that this guy had like a vendetta. This was there was much more than him just saying, she needs to work on this, and then a lot of critics will give you constructive criticism, and so I felt really upset because it felt like someone was actually just trying to end my career rather than report on music. And I felt really sort of defeated by it. And so I went to my room and I grabbed my guitar and I started strumming this chord progression, and I started writing this song that I called Mean. And it was all about this guy picking on me and making me feel small and making me feel like I wasn't enough, or I wasn't what I should be. And the strangest thing that has ever happened in my life was standing on the stage at the Grammys 2 years later, accepting 2 Grammys for that song. So it's really weird how things can come back around in your life. You can choose to be completely pulled down, and you can let bullying change you, or you can let it make you aggressive or mean, just like they are, or you can try to channel your pain into something that can do nothing but pull you up and motivate you. And if you do that, you look back one day and you are so thankful that person was terrible to you. But I actually have a clip of that song and that video if you want to watch a little clip of that song so that you can understand what my story was about. So that was one way that I handled kind of criticism and things like that. And then, I think as I've grown up, I've learned to handle things differently. So recently, the way that I handle criticism or people making fun of you is I tend to have a little better of a sense of humor about it. When I'm at award shows, I have the best time dancing when people are performing. I think it's so cool that you're at this award show and there's so many cool artists up on stage and they're performing their songs. It's like you're at the best concert ever. But you're sitting there and you're in the front row of this award show and every artist is sitting there like this. As if they're bored by it, but it's the coolest thing. Those are the greatest artists out right now. They're performing for you. I just decided I would have fun with it. So I'm always up and dancing, and I'm really tall and lanky, so I look a little bit like a baby giraffe learning how to walk. So there would be all over the internet, it was Taylor Swift looks awkward when she dances. She's so bad at dancing. And so the way I handle that now, that criticism, is I wrote a song called Shake It Off. And as soon as I wrote the song, I knew exactly what I wanted to do for the music video. I knew that I wanted to do an entire music video of me awkwardly badly dancing. Just like, I think that if you learn to laugh at certain things and not take everything so seriously, if something hurts your feelings, that's valid, and you're allowed to let that happen. But I just kind of like, yeah, I do dance awkwardly, and I'm having more fun than you. So here's a clip of the video for Shake It Off. Sprinkler. So that ended up being the most fun video I've ever made in my life. We had so much fun on the set, and yeah, so those are two different music videos in two different ways that I deal with kind of people who cut you down or make fun of you. There are two different ways you can handle it. You can handle it like, well, you got to be so mean, or you can handle it like you shake it off and you just kind of laugh at it, and you can laugh at yourself too. Like, that's all right.
Hi, we're from Leonard Elementary, and we noticed that your music videos are like illustrations for your songs.
We were wondering if you picture the video in your mind first and then write the song to go with it.
Or you write the song first and the video comes later.
That's a really good question, you guys. I start with the song. I start by drawing inspiration from something that's happened in my life. And so I'll write the song, and I usually write songs pretty quickly. Usually, from the time I get an idea to the time I finish a song, it's usually no more than about 45 minutes. It's usually pretty quick. But what happens afterward, after I record the song and I'm listening to it on my phone and just kind of imagining what it could be, I can't help but have my mind wander to, oh, what would this be like as an award show performance? Or what would this be like as a music video? What would I do if I got to make a music video for this song? Or if this ends up being like on the album, what would the album cover look like? Like I start thinking about all of those things. And it's really fun to be able to come up with those different components to music, because you know, a song isn't just a song anymore. Then it becomes sort of a visual, and you can make a music video, and when people hear that song, they think of that music video. It's pretty cool. That was a really good question. Thank you so much for asking it.
How long does it take for you to write one song normally? And do you work on one song at a time, or do you have more than one started at once?
Actually, usually I go one song at a time. But sometimes if I'm doing like a co-write, if I'm going in to write with, like for example, like Ryan Tedder, the lead singer of One Republic, do you know that band? He's a person that I was writing with on this new album, 1989. And like I would get, if I'm going in to write with him, it's like you have a meeting with them. You go to the studio, and as a songwriter, I like to bring in maybe 5 to 10 different ideas and let the co-writer decide which one they think they want to work on with me, because I always like to be really over-prepared for working with people who I really respect. Like, these songwriters that I get to work with are so cool and so good at what they do that you really want to like bring your A game. So I actually have something that could work as an example. I have an audio file. Like when I'm sitting at the piano and I'm coming up with ideas for a song, the first thing I'll do is I'll get my phone, and you know the little voice memo app on your phone that you never use?
Yeah.
I use that all the time. I use it, and I like push record, and I put it on the top of the piano, and I'll start playing what I think could be a cool melody for a song. So I have an audio file to play for you of me recording what I thought I wanted to write with Ryan Tedder, an idea for a song that I had thought of called I Know Places. And I'm going to play you what it started out like with me sitting at my piano. I sent this file off to Ryan and said, hey, do you want to work on this? He ended up wanting to work on it. So I'll play you, after this one, I'll play you what the song ended up sounding like. So you can have a good before, after of what it's like when you go and record something in the studio. So this is the very, very rough voice memo that's actually available on the Target Deluxe edition of 1989. There are 3 of these voice memos of me just like trying to figure out where these songs are going to go, and then on the actual album you get to hear what they ended up like. So this is the voice memo for I Know Places.
I know some places we won't be found, and they'll be chasing their tails, trying to track us down. 'Cause I know places we can hide. I know places. I know places.
So that's where it started, with me just playing that on piano and singing what I wanted to be the chorus. And then I went to the studio and I played this idea for him, and then we started working on creating the track for it. So what's the background going to sound like? What's the drum going to sound like? What's the bass going to sound like? So after we built the song and recorded the vocals, this is the version of I Know Places that you'll hear on the album.
I know places we won't be found, and they'll be chasing their tails, trying to track us down. 'Cause I know places we can hide. I know places.
So I hope that kind of answers your question as to where a song starts, where it begins, if I'm writing more than one thing at once, because that was an amazing question. It really was. So, isn't that weird seeing it go from that to that?
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, what is the most enjoyable and challenging part of writing for you?
That's an excellent question. Songwriting is my favorite part of my job. Like, I would not be a singer if I wasn't a songwriter. I wouldn't want to stand on a stage and sing something that someone else wrote. So, writing songs is the most exciting thing, because you never know how you're going to get an idea, because it never happens the same way twice. Songwriting is the most random thing that could ever happen. Like, I'll be in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden I'll hear like this happening, this sound in the wall, and I'll be like, that's a really cool drum beat. That's a really sick drum beat. And then I'll have to like run to the corner and like try to make that sound in my phone with my mouth and try to like be like, this needs to be a drum beat we'll use. Or I'll get an idea, like someone will say something, it triggers an idea, and I think of some metaphor that describes what I'm going through, and I'll go write that into my notes. So it never starts with music first, or lyrics first, or vocals first. It's always something different, and it seems like it's just getting weirder and weirder. Like the other day, actually for a song on this album called All You Had to Do Was Stay, I came up with an idea while I was dreaming, while I was asleep, and I kept hearing this weird high-pitched sound that was like, stay! And I just couldn't, I was like, kept hearing that in the dream. It was like I was trying to talk, but all that would come out was like, stay, stay. And I was so embarrassed in the dream that I woke up. And I ended up deciding it was kind of a cool sound, recorded it into my phone. And if you go and you listen to a song called All You Had to Do Was Stay, you'll hear that sound right at the beginning and the end of the chorus. So like, I think that the most exciting and the most frustrating thing about songwriting is that you never know when you're going to get an idea. Or you could go 2 months without getting an idea. And sometimes you just wonder, am I ever going to write a song again? Like, is that it? Is that all the ideas I was going to get? And then it turns out, like, you know, when you have that kind of panic set in, then you write the next song the next day. Like, so I think that's the most interesting. The best and the worst part of songwriting is how unpredictable it is. That's a great question.
Okay, Is there a special place where you like to go to write, or like a favorite place where you like to be creative?
That's an awesome question. Songwriting for me is something that has really this unpredictable, spontaneous quality to it. I mean, there have been times where I'm walking through an airport and I get an idea for a lyric and I don't want, and my phone is dead, so I'll run to the bathroom, grab a paper towel, and write the lyric on the paper towel. Because the cool thing about inspiration is that it can hit you at any point. But the bad thing about inspiration is that if you don't write it down, chances are you'll probably forget what your idea was. So I've written songs on airplanes. I've written songs at home in the middle of the night, or in a weird hotel in a place I'd never been before, or in a dressing room right before I walked on stage for the Red Tour. Like, it's the weirdest thing, but location really has nothing to do with the songwriting process for me. So I just kind of write wherever I am, whenever I get an idea. And my friends get really annoyed because I'll be in the middle of a conversation with them and all of a sudden they'll see me get really distracted. And they'll just know, they're like, you just got another idea, didn't you? You're writing the second verse of some song while I'm trying to talk to you about my problems. So, yeah, it's kind of weird, and it definitely keeps life interesting. So thank you for asking about that.
How often do you begin your songs by writing a poem, and then how do you find the melody to accompany the words?
That's an excellent question. When I was growing up, my favorite class was English because that's where we could write poetry, and that was my favorite thing in the world. And that transformed into songwriting really easily because it's very similar. But actually, the last time I wrote a poem that ended up being a song, I was writing in my journal, and I was writing about something that had happened in my life. It was about a year ago, and I just wrote this really, really short poem. It said, "This love is good, this love is bad, this love is alive back from the dead. These hands had to let it go free, and this love came back to me." And I just wrote it down and closed the book and put it back on my nightstand. That was fun, short little poem. And then all of a sudden in my head, I just started hearing like, "This love is good, this love is bad, this love is," and I just started hearing like this melody happen in my head. And then I realized that it was going to be a song, and that song actually ended up being a chorus to a song on my new album called "This Love." So that's the last time that happened. But poems and songs are so similar that I predict it's a very high likelihood that if you love writing poetry, you would love writing songs. So, like, learn to play guitar. You're almost there. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been amazing talking to you about reading and books and, like, all the stuff. We talked about a lot of stuff, touched on a lot, and I really appreciate hearing your perspective on things. It's amazing. And I want to say thank you so much to Twin Peaks and Leonard Elementary. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for Skyping in with us, and thank you for your questions and your signs that you hung on the back wall. That's amazing. Bye. And I'm just so happy to get to spend time with you. So, like, just keep on reading, guys. Bye.
I know places we can hide. I know places.